All right, hey, this is a how to draw video on how to draw a deer from front view that has antlers and stuff, but just the head part. There is another video that if you want to see the full body and draw along with that, you can. I just had a lot of requests for just the head. So, all right, let's get started. So in order to get started, I would suggest make sure that you leave plenty of space for your antlers. So antlers kind of go off in kind of like a gumdrop shape. So I would very lightly sketch, as light as you can, because all of this will be erased. Just very lightly sketch out kind of like a gumdrop. It's like a frowny face with like a flat line right here. This is just going to make sure that we can fit the entirety of the antlers onto the head, okay? All right, so once you have the gumdrop shape sketched out, then right below that gumdrop, you're just going to start with a circle shape, however big you want the head. So this is how big you want the antler shapes to be, and this is how big you want the head to be. So if you want bigger antlers, draw a bigger gumdrop shape, okay? All right, so circle for the start of the head. Then what we're going to do is below the head, we're going to draw the muzzle. So if this is the cranium, we got the muzzle down below. Right below that, we're going to draw another circle and make it much, much smaller. Now this deer is kind of looking off to the side, so it's not perfectly in the middle. So that's why I drew mine slightly off to the side. All right, so some things we can see about this right here. We have the jaw of the deer right here that we can see that's pretty strong, and it's over here as well. So it's just kind of like a greater than or less than sign sort of. So come from this circle, I'm going to do a slight diagonal line up, and then whenever I get close to the cranium, like below it, I'm going to curve it and go up until I touch the cranium. So slight diagonal line, curve up. Right here, I don't have to do it as much, but from the muzzle, I'm going to do slight diagonal line and then go and connect it to the top of the cranium there. So this is just going to give our head shape for the deer. We're going to tweak this just a little bit more later. I'm going to go ahead and start with the nose and muzzle first before I do the eyes, because that'll help me line everything up. So for the nose here, we can see this is just a flat curve right here. So at the top of this, I'm just going to do a little frown like this. Deer's noses look kind of like hourglass things that we have two dips, like two little parentheses right here and right here. So I'm just going to dip this in with two little parentheses. And then this right here would be where we would have the actual mouth itself. So to draw that mouth, I'm just going to do, on this circle, I'm just going to do like a little flat line until I get close to the end of the circle. Then I'm just going to curve it up just a tiny bit and just leave it there. I don't want to go too big because deers don't have very large mouths. They're relatively small. So this right here is going to be my chin. I'm just going to outline that bottom circle to be my chin. Now this is a white-tailed deer, so it's kind of like black on the top of the nose, and it also has this like black like bottom mustachy beard thing. So if it helps, go ahead and shade the nose in black, just the top part, not the bottom part. And then right next to the chin, shade this in a little black line that goes around the chin, and that'll help you be able to identify the parts of the muzzle, which makes it look like it stands out. We'll notice that there's also this little V shape that goes up above the nose. If you would like to add that detail, you can, or you can leave it out. That's just an extra detail if you would like to. All right. Now we have the eyes. If we look at the eyes, they're exactly across from each other, and they are pretty high up on the head. If I take the cranium, they are about halfway up the cranium. So if I divide this in half, this is going to be the location of one eye, and this over here is going to be the location of the other eye. So the eye shape is fairly simple. It's got a little frown and a smile. So in this general area, kind of like a diagonal line away from the nose, I'm going to start with a small frown shape like this. And then I'm going to start at the corner. I'm going to do a slight smile, but I want to make it to where it does like a slight smile, and then it goes kind of flat at this half right here. So it does get a little bit of a point to the inside of the eye. All right, over here, I'm going to do the same thing. So slight frown like this. And then I'm going to do a slight smile and connect it. So notice this eye is a little bit further over, so it's not the exact same shape. So kind of play around with that until you're satisfied, okay? All right, I like to leave a little white highlight and then shade in the rest of it just to give the animal a little bit more life. Yes, okay. So now we do have some things that are pretty distinctive. They have these like brow indents that stick out a little bit, as well as a cheekbone. So around this eye area, I'm going to do kind of like a curvy parenthesis or like a pointy parenthesis to identify the brow bone. Same thing over here, kind of like a pointy parenthesis. Notice the point lines up with the top of the eye. So wherever you're doing that point for that parenthesis or that greater than less than sign, it lines up with the top of the eye. And then for the cheekbone, I just do a little bit of a bump and connect it to the side of the head. So just a little bit of a parenthesis in order to connect it. And then you can erase the inside lines. So it's like you have two bumps near the eyes. One is the brow and one is the cheeks. And it'll look similar to this. Now, if you want to, you can draw like the little shape of the colors that would go around the eyes, or you can save that for later. That's kind of up to you. There's also a white band that goes around their nose area, but entirely up to you if you want to do that now or later. All right, so before we move on to the horns, I'm going to go ahead and do the ears. So if you notice, the ears are connected below the eye right here, and they're also connected way above the eye as well. So their ears are relatively wide, and then they get skinnier and then poof, out really wide. So I'm going to start the ear down here on the cheek. I'm going to do a slight frown going up. I'm going to start it up here on the top of the head, do a slight flat line like this, okay? Then I'm going to do a big frowny face and a big smiley face down here. So I'm going to start right here, do a big frown until I get whatever size I want for my ears. And I'm going to go down for a big smile to get to the bottom of the ears. So it's kind of like really big leaf shapes for their ear shapes. On the inside of the ears, they do have some fluff. So if you want to add a Z-line, which a Z-line, by the way, is just this, where you're just adding a wiggly line. It's like you're drawing the letter M or the letter W, and you're just making it somewhat curvy. So on the inside of the ears, I'm just going to do some somewhat curvy lines. Just give it a little bit more texture on the inside. And you can also add a rim around it in order to give it a little bit more dimension. All right, so I'm just going to repeat that same process over here. So this time, though, because it's slightly turned to the side, it's starting a little bit on the cheek and on the top of the head. So I'm just going to start right there at the edge of the cheek, go up at a very slight angle, start somewhere at the top of the head, go out at a flat line. I'm just going to do that big parenthesis, or not parenthesis, sorry, frowny face and smiley face. Make sure that's about the same size as you did the other ear. If not a little bit bigger, smaller, it's okay. Just make sure that it's not like too much different than the other one, otherwise it might look a little strange. All right, and you can always tweak this shape too in order to make it look more like the picture. Just kind of play around with it until you're happy. So I'm just going to do that rim line. I'm going to add a little bit of fluff with that Z line, just to give it a little bit more texture. All right, so for the rest of the neck area, I'm just going to start on the cheek. And I'm just going to go down. Now, as I'm going down, I'm kind of going out a little bit, and then I'm going to curve it in a little bit, just to give it a little bit more of a sway to the neck in order to give it a little bit more roundness. On this side, I see that the neck actually starts where the ear stopped. So I'm going to start right here with the bottom of the ear. I'm just going to do a slight curve like this. I'm just going to do a little shoulder right here. So since on this one we're just focusing on the head and we're not drawing the body, I won't go ahead and do the rest of the body here. Something I would suggest doing here, though, is adding that little white patch that they have underneath their heads, because they're white-tailed deer. And you can add a little bit of a muscle wrinkle if you want to, but that's up to you. All right, and this, by the way, is just the shoulder, so that's not too important. All right, last part is the horns. I really like drawing horns. They're pretty fun. Let me show you a very simple way to draw them. So we already have the mushroom-shaped curve thing that we have for the horns. So that's going to do from this corner right here on the top of the head. It goes up at a diagonal line, does a curve, and then I like to draw this antler first on the inside and then add the rest of them. So very lightly, start where you want to go, and then you're just going to do kind of go up at a diagonal line, then curve out where you're going to go for the mushroom, touch the edge of the little gumdrop shape, and you're just going to do a curve that follows the shape of the mushroom shape. I know I called this gumdrop, I just call it mushroom now just because it makes me think of that more. All right, now you draw this lightly, that way it's easier to fix it and tweak it. All right, so I'm just going to pretend that it only has one antler. It's going to go all the way back. So I'm just going to do a curve. It's going to follow that all the way back. It's okay if it touches the ear. And then it's just going to come back and touch the head. At the head, I can just draw like little circly shapes to indicate the texture of the horn. Now, this is only one point. I need to have a couple more points. So anywhere that you want to add a new antler, just erase the base. And then you're just going to draw the little wiggly shape going up. And just connect it back up. So anywhere that you want to add a new antler, just erase the base to make it easier so you don't have to erase it later. And you just draw it going up into the shape that you want it to be. This one right here actually has an overlap, so I'm going to go under the other antler like this. And you can add as many points as you want, so you can keep adding more. or you can just leave it as simple. So in this picture, he has one more point growing off of this part right here. So I would add that, but add as many or as few of antlers as you want. All right, so I'm gonna do the same thing over here. So I'm just gonna start on the head. I'm gonna go up first at an angle. Then I'm going to kind of follow the shape of that mushroom shape. Once I get to the outside, then I'm gonna curve it in like this, so that I get that curve in of that horn. And then afterwards, then I'm gonna go ahead and draw that kind of, it's like a parallel line that you don't wanna get it too thick, but you don't want it to be like super, super skinny. And this is gonna follow back until it touches the head. Draw little squiggly shapes, little dot, dot, dot lines in order to give it that texture. And then you just start adding those horns. So I'm just gonna go and erase all the bases that I need. And then I'm gonna go add my spikes. So here I have this wiggly line going up right here, going back down. Over here I have another wiggly line going up, going back down. And then this one right here is overlapping behind my other horns. So I'm gonna go back behind it. So just whenever I hit a line, I just jump over and continue it to the other side until I'm satisfied with how it looks. All right, so there is the basics of a deer with some antlers. We do have to draw the top of the head, which looks kind of like two bumps that are going up. So it's kind of like you're just doing like a little bit of a bumpy shape, kind of like a little curvy M shape right there. All right, and that pretty much concludes. You can add more texture and more details to different parts. And of course, as always, you can add a little bit of shading. Shading always takes your drawing just a little bit to the next level. Or if you want to, this also would look really good in color, especially since they do have so many different color markings on their face and their body. That can really make it stand out. But that's kind of up to you how much detail you want to put in it, or if you want to just do a rough sketch. But yeah, so I hope that this was helpful. And if you need any more help, or if you want any other animals or poses or anything else in general that you would like me to show you how to draw, just let me know. And thanks for drawing along with me. All right, thanks, bye.